Hi, and welcome back to the Family Framing Podcast, where we explore the issues and solutions in the autism world with our very own board-certified behavior analyst, Andrea Matthews. Let's dive right into it.
I wanted to go over some alternative communication systems that are frequently used for individuals who are nonverbal or struggle to be verbal in a functional way. And one of the really common ones that is used today in therapies is called a PECS board, or a Picture Exchange Communication System. That's what PECS stands for. And essentially, a PECS board or a PECS book is something where there are pictures or icons that have been printed out, and they're placed in a book, and they're Velcroed to this book or this board or wherever they're Velcroed. And the child is able to see these pictures and be able to take this Velcro picture off the book or board and hand it to you as in the place of a verbal request for an item. And this is a great system. I frequently use systems like this, especially if the family can't afford an iPad requesting device, or insurance won't cover that expense, because sometimes the iPads or the tablets can be expensive. They can be breakable, and sometimes the communication apps themselves can be really, really pricey and expensive, and sometimes complicated to figure out and to be able to work as well. So sometimes the PECS board is really, really easy, and sometimes I like to start with a PECS board just in case the child does end up starting to verbalize things, and we just end up moving into a lot of verbal behavior, a lot of verbal requesting, rather than needing an alternative communication system. Some things to keep in mind with a picture exchange communication system. When you're first teaching this system, you want to always be able to provide that item. And so you might only start with a couple of items until they start to understand the concept of grabbing the picture and handing it to you and then receiving that item. And in the beginning, they're not going to understand any of that. And so you might be doing a lot of helping their hands do every single step to the point where they're dropping that picture into your hands and you're rewarding them with that item. But if enough practice is had, they start to understand and independently look through that book, through even multiple pages of a book, to find the correct item to then hand to you and drop in your hand. This is something that I love to make for clients that I'm working with. I find that if there is no other method of reliable communication, a PECS board is great to teach for lowering problem behavior, giving them a way to express themselves, helping them be able to navigate the world, helping them feel like they have control and a way to get their needs met. And that goes a long way in making your child more comfortable and helping them be more happy. And so I've seen frequently a lot of problem behavior just simply go away once you have a method of being able to communicate with your child. I frequently make these books, and this is something that, as part of a coaching package, if you were to have a consult with me and be working with me, this would be something that I could train you on. I could help you make one individualized for your child, for your family's needs, for their comfort level, and also for their level of understanding, and then be able to train appropriately so you see really rapid success in them being able to feel confident in communicating with you for the things that they need. That is something that I frequently do for clients that I have, for people that I'm coaching with, for people that I'm working with that have these children that they really would just love to be able to help communicate their needs a little bit better without all of the frustration of not having a voice yet. This is also something that I frequently use to help language emerge. And there are really, really simple science-based and proven methods to help them understand the meaning of words through a PECS board. And that's also something that I provide in my coaching programs when that's applicable to a family, to help them be able to help language start to emerge using a PECS board, using those picture systems. And I've often seen a lot of verbal behavior start to emerge just by doing that. And so a PECS board is an alternative to verbal communication, but it's definitely not necessarily taking the place of that verbal communication. It can be a tool to help increase verbalization for your child so that they are desiring to speak more, so that they are understanding that they can speak, that they have a voice, and that they can learn words. So that's something that is really, really awesome. There are some downsides to keep in mind with a PECS system. Like if you make a book or something, and it has maybe a strap to easily carry it around, sometimes these things can get lost or misplaced, or sometimes they get forgotten altogether, and then you find yourself in the middle of the store realizing that you don't have a PECS book for them to make a request. And so sometimes that's why I'm also a really great advocate of having them know some signs for, I want, even if they're their own made up signs, and maybe you and your spouse are the only one who understands these signs, but they have a sign for I'm hungry, they have a sign for I'm tired, they have a sign for I want to go play, or I want a candy, etc. All of these little things that they would still be able to communicate with you, because chances are they're going to have their hands with them and be able to use them to make a couple of these little signs to make sure that their needs are continuing to be met, just in case a PECS board is lost or something happens and it's forgotten or something like that, because that is one of the downsides to having an alternative communication system that is not within the body of the communicator. So that's something to definitely keep in mind. I actually had a client that came in and we started working with him, and he started to gain some like echoic, so he was able to repeat the words that he was hearing, but he never seemed to really get past that like echoic area. And then he sometimes would seem really, really resistant to even when he had high motivation for an item, we would just get a lot of silence. And I started a PECS system. Even though I knew he had a lot of words, we were just not getting a lot of communication. And it was really amazing to see him start to verbalize more and start to feel more and more confident, and somehow using that PECS system and having him, having us prompt him in the beginning and teaching him all of these different things. And we started to get, as we were teaching this PECS system, and he would hand us pictures of bubbles or dinosaurs or whatever item that he wanted to play with, or food item he wanted to eat, or whatever, that we would start to see that confidence in, like, I know that if I do this, I can always rely on this PECS book, that they're going to give me the things that I need. And he, through that process, he was able to start to associate all of the words, and he started independently using words. And we were able to roll back that PECS system. We still always had it available just in case we had a really quiet day. But he was, like, I want car, give me dinosaurs. All of these different ways of asking for things, and we were starting to see a lot of independence with his requesting. And it was through using a PECS board that we were able to really see that independence, rather than him just repeating the things that he was hearing us saying or prompting him to say. And it was also, if we saw that he had motivation but we were getting silence, we could use that to then, prompt him physically, like helping his hand grab for the item that he wanted so that he could still gain access to that item, even if he wasn't ready or was not wanting to use language at that time. And I think that sometimes that is really, really helpful. And it helped him be able to feel heard, and it helped him be able to feel like a lot of the problem behavior over not having access to things because he wasn't using any words, because he either wasn't feeling comfortable or wasn't feeling ready or didn't feel like he could make the sounds that he needed to make, whatever the reason was, that he was still able to have a way that he could clearly communicate with anybody in the room, and that they were going to understand his needs and honor them. And I think that that's something that's really important. I've also had clients come in that are really, really restrictive in their preferences. I had a couple clients, well, I have frequent clients that are really not interested in a lot of anything. And so getting them to request things is really difficult sometimes. And motivation was super, super low. And through a PECS system, starting with the few things that they did like, we were able to start training really, really reliable communication whenever they felt the desire for those things. And then pretty soon, the desire for different things became more and more vast. And pretty soon, I remember the first day that parents were like, oh my gosh, they requested to play with the shape sorter and the puzzles and finally all of the toys that we're buying for them, he's finally using, and we're so pleased, and we feel like this is such a great turning point. And he has, he's starting to develop such great play skills, and he's starting to interact with people differently, and he's not so ambivalent when we walk in the room anymore. He'll look at us and he'll smile and he'll come running up to us, oftentimes with a peck in his hand, where he's asking to be pecked up, he's asking to be hugged, he's asking to get tickles, whatever it is. And so he's asking us to interact with him where he hasn't ever done that before. And it gives them that kind of window into their child's life, into their child's being, into their child's existence that they didn't have before through a communication system like that. So, and there are a lot of other stories that I have. I have a lot of really great experiences with a picture exchange communication system like this. They're best if they're tailored to the exact needs of your child. They're best if they are made by someone who knows what they're doing to be effective and easy to use for the family. They're best if the family is appropriately trained. There's a lot of mistakes that can be made, but if it's done right and it's done consistently, the outcomes can be just absolutely amazing, and the changes that you can see are wonderful.
For those that tuned in, thanks so much for listening. If you have a question you'd like us to talk about, please send it to us at famframing@gmail.com. That's famframing@gmail.com. Also check out our social media for more great tips and resources. Thanks again, and we'll catch you next week.